Guys who score goals and guys who collect points. It's hard to do both. So I have some numbers for you, and there's an article coming out today at Daily Faceoff that will outline this so people can follow along a little bit better. 100-point seasons in the history of the game. 111 players have scored 100 points. It's happened 285 times. 50 goals. Austin Matthews became the 93rd player to score 50 in a season. It's been done 198 times. 50 goals and 100 points in a season. There's 55 players to have done it. It's happened 118 times. So clearly 50 and 100 is it's much more rare. But then to do it twice in a career, Leon Draisaitl accomplished that last night. He's got 50 goals, got 101 points now. And he's one of only 24 players who have done it twice, Frank. There's 61 guys who have scored 100 points twice, and there's 47, who have done 100 goals 2 times or more. And so when I look at Leon Draisaitl, and he's in a rarefied air, Frank, when it comes to the 50-100. And, he's won a Hart. He's won an Art Ross. He's won a Ted Lindsay. I still think that Leon Draisaitl, when people are talking about, great players, best score in the game, like I read an article the other day that, Austin Matthews could have scored 53 times if it wasn't for COVID. And outside of Ovechkin, no one does that. And I'm like, well, Draisaitl has done it twice, and he also would have done it a third time if it wasn't for COVID. Like, he seems to get overlooked. He's kind of like if Jenny Malkin was in his prime in Pittsburgh.
I think back to the Oilers' first playoff run in 2017, was it?
Oh, yeah.
And I was doing the panel with Craig Button on TSN, and that's the exact comparison he made. Was Leon Draisaitl is the Evgeny Malkin to Sidney Crosby. That's really, and it was an exact comparison then. It's maybe even more apropos now because you think about the Hart Trophy race and no one really knows what to do with Leon Draisaitl. How do you handle it? Why is it that Leon Draisaitl and McDavid almost cancel each other out? Like both of their campaigns are weakened by the other, right?
Yeah.
At least theoretically. Yet no one thinks the same way about Austin Matthews and his candidacy, even though Mitch Marner is in the top 5 in the league in points. Why is that the case?
I'm guessing because McDavid and Draisaitl have already won. And I'm sorry. I think as a voter, it's very lazy to say, well, the other guy's won, so I don't want to pick him. I really to me that I voted Patrice Bergeron. Like, if that's the case, why is he winning the Selke all the time? Right? Like, you're supposed to pick who's the best, not who you're tired of.
I think Bergeron has actually lost Selkes in recent years because people are tired of seeing him win. I think that is fact. He hasn't won a Selke since 2017. Think about that.
Yeah.
He won so many in a row that people were like, we're good. Let's change it up.
Yeah. And speaking of Selke, it's like when people in Toronto were saying Austin Matthews should be up for the Selke. Well, Austin Matthews been on the ice for 56 goals against 5-on-5. Draisaitl's been on for 50. But they say that Draisaitl doesn't have good defense. Like, it's mind-blowing to me. Like, Leon Draisaitl, how many top 10 scores are used on your 5-on-3 penalty kill, are used on your penalty kill regularly? Or like the thing that's unique about Draisaitl, Frank, is if he's not the best backhand passer in the NHL, he's definitely top 2 or 3. I don't think there's any debate on that, right? He's an elite passer, and he's become one of the elite scorers. Like, Austin Matthews has a better snapshot, no question. Like, his release is fantastic. But you look at Draisaitl, Draisaitl's probably more accurate with his one-timer and scores on it more, right? It's like, he's not Ovechkin, because very few people are Ovechkin. Let's be real here. But I find it interesting how Draisaitl gets overlooked. And when I crunched those numbers and, I dug deep into it, and it took me a long time, but only 24 guys, and Draisaitl, there's a realistic chance he could do it again, Frank. Well, if he does it again, you guarantee rubber stamp his ticket to the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Because I think you already have.
Yeah, and you're probably right. But here's the numbers, Frank, for the Maurice Richard Trophy, which is fantastic. Aptly named, the first guy ever to score 50, Maurice Richard, 50 and 50, back in 1945. In the last 12 games, Draisaitl has a 12-game point streak. He has 12 goals, 22 points. Austin Matthews. Now, his technically isn't a 12-game point streak because he got suspended, but he's on a personal 12-game point streak. He has 14 goals, 20 assists. And then there's Connor McDavid, is on a 13-game point streak, and he has 11 goals and 26 points. Right? Like McDavid has an outside chance because he's on such a hot streak to maybe join the 50-100 club, as does Matthews, who's might be more realistic because he needs what does he need? 12 points to get there. Like, you could see 3 guys in one season join the 50-100 club, which is remarkable.
Crazy. By the way, Matthews and the Hart candidacy, or what were we talking? Selke?
Well, somebody had mentioned Selke earlier.
He doesn't kill penalties at all.
Well, that's what I said.
You can't.
Plus, he's been on the ice. Like, look at his goals against 5-on-5 when you're on the ice. Like, I'm sorry. Like,
oh yeah, I'm sorry.
And I don't want to
win
blame
the Selke without killing penalties.
Yeah. And by the way, this isn't an attack on Matthews. I don't get Austin Matthews is an unreal player.
I don't care what your last name is or what team you play for. If you don't kill penalties, you should be disqualified from winning the Selke.